Hello, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Institute of Global Professionals free international webinar. Thank you all for joining us in this wonderful evening, and we do hope that you will stay with us until the end. Our dear audience, I am Professor Sairi Navalta from the University of Rizal System Tanay Rizal, Philippines, and I am your host for this evening. I am proud to be associated with IGP as a global member, and I feel honored and privileged to host this webinar. I am sure that you will learn a lot and will have many takeaways. Please don't forget to like, tag, share, and mention your friends in the comment box. So let us watch together and learn together. We believe that power is gained by sharing knowledge and not hoarding it. Once again, I am Cyrene. I am an IGP member from the Philippines. Every day, we have new participants who are joining us, so allow me to give a little background about IGP. The Institute of Global Professionals serves students and the community by providing holistic approach to social work and education to help create a proficient generation of professionals. IGP is a leading online skill development institute with thousands of learners worldwide. We make sure that the knowledge from our webinars will contribute in the enhancement of one's personality to become more confident and ready to face any circumstances and to develop your own skills. We are entrusted with international recognition. We organize our webinars, training, offline and online courses, and others by best and trained speakers and coaches from all over the world to create a best learning platform for you all. Our mission is to empower people and enhance their potentials. For the information of everyone, we have already completed 430 webinars successfully. We in the IGP aim to contribute or to continue to serve our learners worldwide and help you, our dear participants, to grow both in your personal and professional career. We do hope that you will continue to support IGP. Let me remind you once again to share, tag, make a comment, and mention your friends in the comment section. Let us now begin our webinar for this evening with IGP's mantra Feed Your Skill. Tonight, we are presenting webinar number 431 with the title Teaching the Genesis of English Language. We are indeed privileged to have with us tonight a former assistant professor from Sri Mata Vishnu Devi University, India. He is known for A Grammar of Saratsi, published by Lincom Europa, Germany. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome our speaker for tonight, Dr. Ravi Parihar. Hello, sir. Good evening.
Good evening, ma'am.
Welcome to IGP. We are happy and honored to have you here with us tonight. You may now give a short introduction of yourself. Then, after, you can proceed to your presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for introducing my name to the participants. And at this moment, I'm here to deliver a talk on teaching the genesis of the English language. So, first of all, if we look at the title, what do we understand by the word genesis? Its origin, its initiation of English language. From where does this language begin? So, we need to look at that perspective. Now, if we consider two aspects, one is the English language and the other is the English literature. So, English language and English literature, these are two different concepts, but these are interlinked. As far as today's talk is concerned, I am confined to only English language, not literature. Now, if we look at a historical account of English language, now how did it originate? How did it start? So first of all, if we consider English as a language, then we need to look at the Old English. There is Old English, Middle English, and Modern English. So Old English period starts from 450 to 1066. AD. And during this period, many oral literature was prevalent. Like many poems, especially Beowulf, was there in Old English context. And now, mm, as according to Avasti, if we consider the notion of mixed language, so English is considered as a mixed language, and how can we understand that? Why is it so called as a mixed language? Because three distinctive tribes uh, had migrated from West Germany to England, and these three tribes were Angles, Saxons, and Jutes. Now, if we consider something more in context to England, like England originally it was known as England. So in Angleland, basically it was Angleland, the land of Angles. It indicates that the Angles were a dominant group among the western Germania. So among these three, Angles, Saxons, and Jutes, the dominance was established by Angles. That is why the land where they established their reign or their power, that piece of land came to be known as Angle land. So this was the original name of England, and the language was English. The language of Angles, it is also known as the language of Angles, but historians call the language as Anglo-Saxons. However, the generic name is Old English till the Norman conquest of 1066. So Angles settled in central region of England, which is known as the Midland England. Now we need to look at this geographical setup, which reflects from where those Angles, Saxons, and Jutes had migrated to England. So this region where Saxons, Angles, and Jutes are marked as the natives, this region is known as West Germany. So this was these three tribes were basically German in context, and all these three tribes shifted through their North Sea route to England, and some got settled at nearest to the Scotland, others at the adjacent to this Wales and then England. So this was the basic origin of these Angles, Saxons, and Jutes, from where they had come and settled down in the territory of Britain. Now, English had some sort of fusion with other language like Scandinavian, or we call it Norse. It's a kindred language. Its fusion with English was natural. Like Scandinavian includes Denmark, Norway, Sweden. So that language of these regions also got mingled with this language which we call English. And what happened to the Old English? Old English borrowed fewer words from Celtic people as they were pushed out of their native lands by Anglo-Saxons. So Anglo-Saxons had a kind of uh, fight with those Celtic people. So Celtic people were defeated by Anglo-Saxons, and due to that reason, Old English borrowed only fewer words from Celtic people. Celtic means someone who is from Ireland. Irish people are known as Celtic people. Now, for example, is also there like place names in Kent, London, Winchester, Dorchester, Bryan, Marver, etc. have survived from Celtic origin. And river names also existed like Thames, Avon, Eve, Wye, etc. Then we have Outside these location names, the number of Celtic words in English is negligible. Boff argues that most of the Celtic words in English have disappeared from present day English. And what is the reason of disappearance of the English Celtic words in English at the present time? So the reason is that relation of Anglo-Saxons and Celts was not conducive, and Celts were a submerged race or oppressed race as Anglo-Saxons had defeated them. Therefore, the Anglo-Saxons could not find sufficient occasions to adopt the Celtic modes of expression. So there was, uh, unconducive environment related to Anglo-Saxons and Celtic modes of expression. So Celtic vocabulary had not been adopted by Anglo-Saxons. Hence, the English language was least influenced by the Celtic people. Then again, we have the Old English borrowing from Latin. So some words were borrowed into Old English from Latin, and that borrowing of words from Latin into the domain of Old English had three phases. The phase one, this uh, the continent itself before the Anglo-Saxon migrated to Britain territory. So Anglo-Saxon contact with Roman civilization was established, and consider Latin loan words like cheese and mint. These words came into Old English through the sound change, a linguistic phenomenon extant to continent itself before the Anglo-Saxons migrated to England. A list of words borrowed from Latin follows as like words for war, camp, battle, scene, banner, gill, javelin, and strat for street. So camp is for bottle and scene for banner, gill for javelin, and then strat for street. So these words have been taken from Latin, especially in context to war. And then trade words are also there which came from Latin into English, Old English. Like this is cheap, and how it is CEAP. It was Latin, and in English, Old English, it became CHEAP. Likewise, so manger is for monger, and then win for wine. Then FLASC, flask for flask of English. This way, vocabulary or the words from Latin were borrowed into Old English. Certain other words are also there, household and culture words like kettle, CYTLE for cattle, then teapot for carpet, and then kitchen, CYCENE. It was from Latin, and it is for kitchen. Then CUPPE, it's for cup, and then DISC for dish, then LINEN for line. Then Old English words from Latin like chalk, copper, title, etc. These were from building arts. Then church words related to church were also borrowed from Latin like bishop, church, Saturday, etc. Then phase two also reflects that some words from Latin were borrowed and which occurred in England itself through Celts, which were limited and confined to geographical setup only. For example, labor, MUNT for mountain, then WIE for village, etc. Then we have phase three from Latin, but this also reflects that words were borrowed from Latin. And conversion of Anglo-Saxons to Christianity also took place at the end of sixth century. So certain words were borrowed. Like borrowing at this phase relates to religious context or Christian religious rituals. Terms such as psalm, shrine, rule, mass, candle, chalice, etc. Then Scandinavian influence on Old English. So how Old English got influenced by Scandinavian. So Danes, like North Germanic ethnic group which is native to Denmark, settled in England during 9th and 11th century. Anglo-Saxons came into contact with Danes language, Scandinavian, uh, and Scandinavian reflects Denmark, Norway, Sweden, and Scandinavian influence is seen with respect to the grammatical words, especially pronouns like they, them, their. These permanently replaced the Old English words like he, H-E-O-M, H-E-O-R-A. These three words, H-I-E, H-E-O-M, then H-E-O-R-A. These were permanently replaced um, uh, by the pronouns they, them, and their, and this was all due to Scandinavian influence with respect to grammatical words. And then again, third person pronoun singular verb inflection marker like s or es, third person uh, singular accommodates these affixes, and these also came from Scandinavian. And if you further want to explore this concept, you may go through Jesperson's The Growth and Structure of English text. And then the Old English word for take, a Scandinavian word, was Niman, Niman. Shift from Old English to Modern English also took place. After Norman conquest 1066 AD, the transition from Old English to mo- Modern English took place considerably as reduction in inflections. So earlier in Old English context, we had the concept of inflections. So there were many inflections based on nouns and verbs, which got reduced, which got eliminated. So only limited in limited contexts, inflections can be seen in the present day English. Otherwise, that those inflections have been lost. Now, loss of inflection. Why did this happen? So the reason is contact with the foreign language. So this Old English came into contact with other foreign languages like French and um, also Latin, Greek. So these kinds of languages came into contact with this Old English, and it ultimately, uh, you know, switched over to the reduction in inflections. So, if we look at certain examples in order to understand how inflections had been removed, or how this inflection contact concept came into existence in context to Middle English words. For example, if we look at modern English word princess, Princess, princess. Now, that this princess word was written or presented in Middle English context as, for there is one example like thought that she were a queen or a princess. So look at under this heading Middle English word, she were a queen, and see the letters available in queen, Queene. So this word final letter e represents a kind of inflectional affix, and similarly in the word princess, Princesse. So these kinds of inflectional affixes were removed in modern context of English words. So this got, you know, shrunk in modern English word, like it is princess, Cess, but there is no extra e or in context to queen or princess. and the reference to this expression of inflected queen and princess is the Knight's Tale. It got published in 1385 by uh, Geoffrey Chaucer, English poet. Now the next example is modern English word scissors. So, what was the Middle English word or earlier, inflected one without? See, what was the way to write without? Withoute. So this addition of e was always there in Middle English words, and without razor, RASOUR, or scissors, SISSOURES. So here again we found the insertion of E before the final sound segment sa in scissors in context to Middle English word. So this got eliminated in modern English word like scissors. There is no E insertion, and this is also taken from the House of Fame 1374 to 85. Mm, Chaucer's English language like word final sound segment E represents Old English inflection. So this is there, and change took place from Old English to Middle English, and there were certain linguistic processes uh, in context to phonological and analogical context of language. So what is analogical way of looking at the words, if you consider the Old English language? Now, analogy is simply a semblance of two things. Just uh, we need to look at certain the words highlighted in this slide, like ox, then es. Basically, if we look at this word in plural context, singular is ox, and then plural is oxen. These days, we know that in contemporary English we write OXEN for plural context of Oxford, and earlier it was established through analogical context like OX is singular and then we need to add ES to make it plural, but that was not appropriate if we compare that word to today's word oxen. So this way it was there. Then DEERS, it's also inappropriate as per analogical context, and then go go and ed. So it's the past tense of for that go word, but it's not appropriate if we look at the word went, went. So go can never be presented as goed. So this is what analogical context is there. So Old English considered analogical way of writing words, but nowadays something else is being written. Egg. Egg was mispronounced or it was deliberately called neg. Neg. So this way something was there in context to Old English words and uh, the way of representing words in Old English. An analogical argument led to leveling of inflectional distinctions that existed earlier when there were no Oxford and Cambridge institutions. So at that time, when there were no Oxford and Cambridge institutions established in the UK, then this analogical way of representing words was very much prevalent. But nowadays, after establishing those institutions of higher education, we got some amendments in English words, and that became, modern English or Middle English. Now, what is next? Inflectional confusion. This is basically a technical expression in context to this lecture. Inflectional confusion. In what is basically inflection that we need to understand first. Inflection and derivation, there are two concepts in linguistic context. If we look at the word teach, teach, that is uh, that is verb, and its grammatical category changes when we add er to this teach. It becomes teacher, and teacher is noun. Earlier teach word was verb. So from verb to noun we got a new word teacher. So it is in derived word. Teacher is a derived word from teach, which was verb. And when we got it after adding a suffix to this word teach. So we can say the teacher word is derived. But inflection, if we look at inflection, so inflection is, it's a linguistic process in which a word part is attached to a particular word. Like, for example, we have tall, tall. So tall, if we add er to this word, it becomes taller. So tall was adjective, and taller is also adjective. The degree of comparison is there, but it did not lose its grammatical category. That due to that reason, the word retained its grammatical category, which was earlier there with the word tall. So the word taller is inflected one. So er added to tall word becomes inflectional affix. So similarly, what kind of confusion took place here, that we are going to look at through inflectional confusion? Something happened. The tendency to mark stress on the part of the word. First syllable, especially the first syllable in a word, was marked as stressed one. So more emphasis was laid on the first part of the word if it was polysyllabic or bisyllabic. So the tendency to mark stress on the part of the word, especially the first syllable, it was true of Old English, with consequent weakening of the following syllable. So the syllable of a word which is first syllable will be marked as stressed, and the second part of that word or second syllable will be weak in nature, and it will you know probably led to inflectional confusion. Why? Typically inflectional marker appears at the word final position. Now see tall, tall, and when we add er to this inflectional affix, it becomes taller. Now consider the word taller. We have two syllables in this word. So first syllable receives the strong stress, or we call it marked for stress, and the second syllable becomes weak. So uh, this inflectional marker occurs at the word final position, and as a result of the weakened final syllable, the inflectional itself becomes weak in pronunciation. So, inflectional part cannot be pronounced strongly because of its availability at the word final position. Wherever the word receives stress at initial position, or the first syllable of the word receives stress. So this inflectional confusion was there in Old English context. Then French words have also entered into this domain of English language. When we think our it, how French words are there in English, like French is a Latin language basically. It is also known as daughter of Latin. So French has been treated as daughter of Latin. So French is indirectly a Latin language. That is to say, many French words employed in English were Latin words in French, spelling and pronunciation. For example, DEBT, it was DETTE. And then INDICT, it was ENDITER. Then VICTUAL, It was Vittle. So this is what we call French words in English. So how these French words are employed in English? Basically, these were Latin words in French spelling and pronunciation system. So French affected the spelling of English words. How French laid its stress, or how it influenced the spelling system of English words, we need to look at briefly. For example, Chaucer, the national poet of England, often spelled the long vowel oo of Old English as ou, ow, a French manner of writing. Thus, Old English thu, this word became thou. Thou. Then shur, this Old English word became shour. And then ku became cow. So this way it is there. So in English words got you know misspelled with reference to French. But if we consider French, then these words are appropriately, spelled. So this way, English words got affected uh, the way French spelling takes place. Chaucer employed French words in his poetry than other poets of his time in the vernacular, and it helped nevertheless to establish English as a literary medium of expression. His age saw the use of English in the court since the Norman conquest 1066 AD, and English was becoming a nationalistic language. Hundred Years' War, it was basically a conflict between England and France, which took place in 1337 and lasted till 1453. 116 years to 4 months and 3 weeks and 4 days. So this 100-year war was a conflict between England and France. What do we need, why do we need to think over this 100-year war? Why is it relevant? Because during then this war, what happened? England learned in taking pride of its own language, that is the English language. So English people had been thinking of prestige of their language, that their language is far superior than those who are from French, because there was French and English, both of them were rivalers to each other in context of 100 years war. So that is why English people started taking pride in their language. Then 15th century, it was barren in literature. No literature was written in this 15th century. And even though Chaucer's poems proved encouraging in resurgence of the English language. So in order to, revive or uh, to strengthen the English language, a resurgence of language took place due to Chaucer's, poems, and he wrote in the language of common people of his time, and that is known as medieval English period. He is known as the father of English language, and Dryden called him father of English language. Now Chaucer found why he is known as the father of English language, because Chaucer found a dialect and left it a language. Now, what was that dialect? East Midland. This name of the dialect is East Midland. Chaucer found it and left it a language. It is what happened. How did it happen that something was found as a dialect and it was left as a language to the people of England? How did it happen? Through language standardization. Wide spreading of language took place over larger area of you know Great Britain. And for the in order to understand the widespread or geographical setup of England, we need to look at the map in next slide. See, this is the geographical setup of England, and here East Midlands is the location where this dialect was, and that this dialect was upgraded. This dialect was promoted, and it got separate to other regions of England as well. So this became standardized dialect in East Midlands geography of England, and due to that reason, this standardization of this East Midland dialect of English, it it was accepted by the entire region of England as a standard form of English language. Due to that reason, this dialect got separate to Northeast, Northwest, Yorkshire, and West Midlands, and then southeast and southwest as well. So this way it got separate to all the locations or all the geographics of that this England, and people started experiencing this as a standard form of language. That was the reason why we called it that. Chaucer found it as a dialect because Chaucer started promoting that through his poems, through his you know verses, and this was the reason he found East Midland as a dialect and left it as a language, and this was universally accepted by all, especially in Britain. Then renaissance of the English language. If we look at this, now Latin and Greek languages were there, and in order to look at the Bible, it's publishing of Bible came initially in the forms of Latin and Greek languages, and later on Bible was was translated from Latin and Greek uh, into English. So the source language was Latin and Greek if we consider Bible, and the target language was English. So Bible got translated from Latin and Greek languages, and it it got translated into English. So a translation, or the work of translation, or the translator must know both the languages, source language and the target language. So William Tyndale translated Bible from Latin and Greek, and it got translated in 1522 to 1536, and translated Bible in English. So William Tyndale was the first English person who translated Bible into English language. Why this translation was required? Because certain church practices were immoral during those days. People outside churches were not aware about the practices which were taking place, which were executed in the churches. And when the Bible got translated, even John Wycliffe also helped in translating the Bible, and he was imprisoned for that aspect of translating Bible. So language is the first important aspect which leads us to translate something uh, in desired language. And language is the foundation stone for any literature. So English language is the foundation stone for English literature. If English language won't survive or exist, the literature won't come into existence, especially in context to English. That is why it's significant to have a language with us. Then King James first also, helped in translation this Bible, like which is known as authorized Bible. English translation of Bible for the Church of England came. It was commissioned in 1604 and got published in 1611. So this also reflects that usage of English as a language was seen in the translation of Bible. Even Dr. Samuel Johnson's dictionary, a dictionary of the English language, which came out in 1775, is also one of the outstanding works in order to establish English as a language outside England. Um, so English language promotion in India, if we consider English as a language in Indian context, first initially during pre-independence times of India, or we call India, Thomas Babington Macaulay in 1835 started the English language promotion in India. So initially, um, if we consider the geography of West Germania, from where those three tribes, Angles, Saxons, and Jutes, had migrated to England, so that place came to be known as England, and England. Afterwards, it became England. So from that England, Britishers spread throughout the world, and they colonized the different nations, and during their colonization of the various nations uh, across the world, what happened? They implemented their language. It was a linguistic imperialism, I would say, that they introduced their English language to those countries where the countries where these were uh, colonized by English people. And in similarly, India was also colonized through this East India Company concept. And if we look at, so the Elizabeth Queen had offered license for business, but the purpose was something else. So I'm not going to discuss that here right now, because I'm trying to let you know that how the renaissance of English language took place through writings, through translation of Bible into English from Latin and Greek. And then again, even King James first also helped in translation of Bible. And similarly, Samuel Johnson also wrote one of the dictionaries, which got published in 1755. And then English in Indian context, English language was started, by Thomas Macaulay in 1835. And what was his argument in order to make this English language promoted one? So he really wanted to expand the uh, horizon of English language. And he, in his words, in Macaulay's words, I would say, a class of persons, Indian in blood and color, but English in taste. Sorry for the mistake. It's not, but unfortunately, it's a typological error. It is but English in taste. So a class of persons, Indian in taste and color, but English in taste, opinions, morals, and intellect. And this was proposed by Macaulay in 1835 in his minutes. So he wanted to promote English language in India. And he what does it mean when we say a class of persons? He wanted to, he wanted to see the Indians. Indians should be blood in color. Only blood in color means Indians should be taught English, and they should be taught in such a way that they would taste this English, and they would accept it as a language of communication, a language of expression. And so their opinions, morals, and intellects would become like we English people do have. So that was the reason why he wanted to promote English, because they Britishers did not know Hindi, and uh, Indians were not aware about English language. So there was communication gap was there. In order to fulfill that gap, English people wanted to teach English language, and wanted to get it promoted, wanted to promote it among the Indian masses during East India Company and onwards. Next is, if we look at the structure of English language, um, it has phonetics, phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, and pragmatics. Now, briefly, I would tell you that there are consonants and vowel segments, um, and those, you know, um, help us to establish stress in English language, and syllables are also established with the help of finding vowels in a word. So whether a word is monosyllabic or bisyllabic or polysyllabic, it depends on the vowel. Vowel helps us to syllabify the English word. Then we have phonology, like 44 sound segments are there in English language, out of which we have 25 consonants and 19 vowels. Some are diphthongs, some are monothongs, some are um, triphthongs. So this way it's there. Now morphology, it deals with the words and word parts. So earlier English, sorry, if we consider the morphology of English words, it is English is basically an analytic language. What is analytic language? We will be looking at it later on, little later. Now sentences, syntax deals with the study of sentences. So what is the basic word order of English sentence? Subject, verb, and object. We can say I ate banana. So I is subject, we is ate, and object is banana. And it becomes, uh, when we want to interrogate, then question word comes first and then sov follows it, like did I eat banana? So this way it happens. Then again, semantics, it deals with the meaning, whether the given meaning of an expression of a word or a sentence is ambiguous or unambiguous, whether it is connotative or denotative. So this semantics deals with it, and we are not going to deal with it in depth. Now, pragmatics talks about practical application of meaning, or we can say the context adds meaning to a particular expression. For example, if I say I have no money with me, if I say my pocket is empty, there is no money in it. So, what this expression is going to talk about? The first literal meaning is that I am penniless, I do not have money with me. The second thing is that this also states that I am going to inform you that I do not have money, and please lend me some money. Please offer some amount of uh, rupees to me. So this way, pragmatics deals with the meaning in context bound. So, in what context a particular expression is uttered, that is considered there. So each language, whether that is English or any other language, all of them have these levels like phonetics, phonology, morphology, syntax, semantics, and pragmatics. Now, if I conclude some points related to English language, it was Germanic in context. So its initiation or beginning of English language dates back to the Germanic invaders who settled down in British Isle, and uh, they had migrated from northwest of Germany. So Normans came to Britain in 8th to between 8th and 11th century, and Germanic invaders were Jutes, Angles, and Saxons. So modern English is a conglomeration of influences from Scandinavia and Europe. Slowly and steadily, the Norman words were added to English as there was linguistic pressure of Norman admin, commerce, and culture. 45% vocabulary of English comes from French. Old English words like from Old English words from Anglo-Saxons disappear after the invasion of Normans. So Norman conquest of 1066 AD. Beyond that capacity, uh, the Anglo-Saxon words or the words of Old English started disappearing, and something new started taking place. And in 14th century, there were only 4,000 words of Old English in use than 8,000 to 10,000 employed from French, Old English to Middle English, and then modern present day English. Then we have English as an analytic language at present. Earlier it was a synthetic language. Inflection was in abundance. So earlier Old English was highly inflectional in nature. Nowadays, little inflection is there. That's due to that as an analytic language English has become. Earlier it was synthetic one. So what is analytic? Words and grammar was strict. So the order of words or arrangement of words in syntax of English was, you know, is strict nowadays because it has become analytic. So analytic language considers strict order of words and arrangement of words like English, Vietnamese, Chinese, etc. All these are analytic languages. Then, if if we consider English as a synthetic language in Old English context, then synthetic relations in sentences expressed by inflection words and change in and distinction of tense, gender, number, person, and mood and voice was there. In earlier Old English context, it was highly inflectional, but nowadays it is least inflectional. That's why it is analytic at the present moment. Now, if we look at the Old English language, it's an what is the overview of this? Now, Old English was earlier historical form of English language. Uh, Old English started from 450 to 1100 AD period. No fixed word order was there, as we got to know that um, earlier what it was synthetic, as inflectional expressions were there, which led to changes in tense, gender, number, person, and mood. And then nouns and verbs inflectional endings were there in Old English. Old English was different from modern English in context to vocabulary. So vocabulary was basically Latin and Germanic in context to Old English because it borrowed many words or expressions from Latin and Germanic expressions. So the text sample of Old English, follows as like and lead, L-E-D, us, not into, temptation. What is the spelling of temptation in Old English context? Temptation. The next line is but, Delyvere, deliver us from evil, evil. So look at the Middle English. It developed out of Old English after Norman conquest of 1066 AD, and from 1100 to 1500 AD period this lasted English as Middle English. Then it has fixed order of words in a sentence. Then simplified inflectional endings have taken place. Middle English is similar to modern English. There is no much difference. Vocabulary, in context law and religion was influenced by French in Middle English context. Text sample of Middle English is like this text we got to know from Old English. Uh, these two lines, and lead and deliver us. So similar equivalent is like and lead us not into temptation but to deliver us from evil. So see the spelling of lead in Old English and Middle English. And temptation is also written differently in Middle English, and the spelling of deliver is also uh, like modern English, and evil is also written differently. So Old English was very different from present day English or modern English. English is at present known as lingua franca. We need to understand, first of all, English started from German tribes. This got shifted to England, and then from that region, English started through or with the help of British poetry, like Chaucer helped it get promoted uh, to other regions, and then colonization took place, and English got spread throughout the world. And due to colonization of Britishers by Britishers, and then English became as a global language, or we call it as a lingua franca. And what does lingua franca mean? A common language is shared by speakers whose native languages are distinct. Your native language might be distinct and mine also distinct, but we are interacting using English as a common source of interaction. So this is lingua franca. So a language which is understood by one and all when the respective mother tongues of those participants are different. So this in this context, English becomes lingua franca, common language shared by all speakers irrespective of their mother tongues. So consider the following text. And what is the text? uh, Decolonizing the mind, the politics of language in African literature. So this is the full title of the text, which got published in 1986. And why this text is important, why it is being referred here. Criticism for English language took place in this text. Some other African writers have also criticized the colonization, or imperialism of language. English language was separate uh, out due to colonization. So it was linguistic imperialism. The English was you know considered as superior language as compared to the other languages of the world. So African writers like Ngugi, he criticized English language in this text, decolonizing the mind, the politics of language in African context. So he detested the English language, and he criticized it, and he wanted to uplift the African vernaculars in comparison to English. He was not in favor of English language, and he also motivated other writers to switch over to the African languages in order to promote them and produce African literature instead of relying upon English language. Then language, its conservative role in natural culture, history, and identity was the prime concern of this author Nagugi in decolonizing the mind. The text is a farewell to English language, indigenous or hegemonic language like French and English. So he was against French, English, or German language, this Nagugi, and he wanted to promote his own culture, own language, own history, and you wanted to establish the identity. So, language and culture is interlinked. These are intertwined. We cannot isolate them. So, through the medium of English language, in with the implementation of English as a global language, English people started promoting their religion as well. That Christianity also took place if we look at English literature. So, through English literature, we got to know that in this Christianity got spread out throughout the world because of English. English was associated with Christianity. I won't, make a certain claim at the moment, but as far as this English literature is concerned, we have got this much idea that English and some religion is associated with it. So this is not my personal opinion. And now, if we look at received pronunciation, or we call it standard speech in English context, it was unexplored in Old English context. Earlier, there was no concept of pronunciation rules, pronunciation of words, and later on, with the advancement of English as a language, many developments took place in, especially linguists throughout the world contributed. uh, respective pronunciations. If we call that received pronunciation is basically British accent, and if we consider uh, American accent, that is different from this received pronunciation. So earlier in Old English days, there was no such concept of received pronunciation and the pronunciation are of American Standard English. So English has widely spread out at the moment. At present time, we can see it as a global language. But earlier, it was confined only to that England and mm, I mean Britain. It includes Holland, England, and Wales. Now, briefly, I would let you know that Old English period ranges from 450 to 1100 AD, and the Middle English remained there for 1100 from 1100 to 1500 AD, and the Modern English started from 1500 to present till date. It's considered as modern one. Now, if we consider Old English version of Beowulf poem, so one stanza has been taken from Old English. So, what kind of English was Old English? We can see this stanza taken from Beowulf, which is Old English poem. It's very difficult to read it out and pronounce appropriately. Then English language, if we look at its genesis, its origin, we need to uh, see this. It was Celtic. And then 5th century Anglo-Saxons and Danish came, and then Old English period lasted till 11th century, and then Middle English from Chaucer and Shakespeare's age, Norman conquest, and then again modern English took place. And at present, American English is different. Canadian, Australian, British English, Irish English, Scottish English, Indian English, all the Englishes latest versions are different in pronunciation, accent, or the ways of syntactic expressions. Heavy influence from old languages has been observed, and these would be Germanic, Norse, and Roman languages also influenced partially. Now, if we look at this linguistic tree of languages. Now, Proto-Indo-European languages is the origin of many languages across the globe. Now, see, German has also originated, and from Germanic, North Germanic, West Germanic, and East Germanic were there. Then Celtic is also there, but out of West Germanic group under Germanic language, we got Old English and then English, and then Old Frisian and Frisian was also there. Then Dutch, Old Dutch, Middle Dutch, and at present or contemporary Dutch. So Dutch, English, and Frisian, all these have originated from West Germanic group of family of languages. So this way, the genesis of English is reflected in this tree. These are references, and I end this session.
Hello, sir. That was an awesome presentation. Thank you very much.
Thank you
I
so
know
much,
that
ma'am.
our participants have learned a lot from your topic. So we will be back to you, sir, in a little while. We will now proceed to the quiz competition before the question and answer part. Thank you. Before that, ladies and gentlemen, let us watch this short video. Hello, our dear participants. You may now join the quiz competition by using the link www.slido.com. You can find it in the comment box. You can also use the QR code on the screen. So we are encouraging our participants to join the quiz competition. Okay, so let us wait for that. Again, please be reminded to share, tag, make a comment, and mention
Hello,
your friends
hello, ma'am. For
so
the
that
start.
they can also participate in our webinar for tonight, as
Hello,
well
ma'am. For
as
the
our
starting
future
video.
events.
Hello, ma'am. Ma'am, today we have no quiz competition.
Okay. Sorry for that. So we do not have quiz for today. So I guess we can proceed directly, sir, to the question and answer part. So now, thank you very much, sir, for giving us the um, details, no, of the origin or the genesis of the English language. So we have a question from our participants. So we are encouraging our participants to please address your question to our speaker for tonight. Okay, so while our participants are preparing their questions, sir, thank you very much for sharing your knowledge to us. We are indeed privileged to hear the information that you have shared with us this evening. Thank you very much, Dr. Parihar. Okay, so our participants, you can ask your questions to our speaker. Okay, so after the Q&A, we will share the certification process for this webinar. And of course, you will receive an e-certificate after the webinar. So just continue to support IGP and participate in our um, webinar every day and every night. So it seems that our audience are not yet done with their questions, or they learned a lot, sir, from your presentation.
Hello, sir. Our first question from Mary Juliet Taylor. How to teach easily to primary student the English language without any hassle from communication barrier?
Thank you so much for this question. How to teach easily to primary students the English language without any hassle from communication barrier? This is relevant and nice question. So this question has relevance to primary students, students who are juvenile. How can we teach them English language? And there should be no sort of obstacle uh, as a barrier, or as a communication barrier. So how do we communicate with our students who are at the primary stage? It depends on the individual teacher who is the teacher of English language. that person has to teach, but how that person is going to communicate and teach without any obstacle. First of all, it depends on the teacher. What is the mode of teaching? Whether the teacher is using online mode of teaching or offline mode of teaching. So if the teaching mode is online, then how can you make the student understand that I am teaching you something as an English language? So for that purpose, first of all, we need to keep our equipments, appropriate and functional in nature. If we are going to teach online, our internet facility should be there adequately. And second is your pronunciation should also be appropriate. Your way of pronouncing the words also matters. If you mispronounce them, students will not be able to grasp. So teachers should have efficiency in pronunciation. S- Teacher should have good quality of internet facility. Then equipments should also be ready to deliver. And if you are going to teach the primary students in offline mode, then you need to be physically present before the students in classroom setting, and you need to see, first of all, you must have knowledge of English language. If you have sufficient knowledge with you, you may teach. You must know the rules of English language if you are going to teach grammar. So you need to communicate each thing politely. So your language of execution will be polite. And then English language will be taught to primary students. Taking the care of students, you need to come down to the level of students. So first of all, you need to identify what is the level of primary students, how much they are able to grasp whatever you are intended to teach. So this way, I think communication can be minimized in context of barriers. So communication should be barrier free. It should be hassle free. And for that purpose, you know, suppose I am from India and I am going to teach students who are from Bangladesh, primary students basically. They are juvenile, they are, you know, 5 to 10 years aged or not more than that. And I do not know how to speak Bangla. And students are at juvenile stage. Since their stage is juvenile, we cannot expect that they would understand fluent English. They would understand, every word pronounced by us, every sentence uttered by us. So this way it happens that teachers should have the knowledge of the native mother tongue or the native language of the students as well, besides the knowledge of English language. So this way, if you know, as a teacher, if you know Bangla, then you may teach English easily to those juvenile primary students. Otherwise, if the teacher is from foreign and he only knows English, then students will not be able to grasp because of being juvenile. So this way some barriers may take place, and in order to minimize them, a local teacher who knows mother tongue of the child along with English would be the best one in order to teach them hassle free. Yes, I think you have got the answer. Yes, any other question?
Thank you very much, sir, for giving us wonderful answer and giving us your valuable time and sharing your knowledge with our participants. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Hello, sir. Thank you. Thank you for that, sir. Hello. Hello, sir. Thank you very much, sir, for that. I'm sorry, I have a signal problem. Okay, so thank you very much, sir, for being with us tonight. So, for the certification link, um,
Dear participants, today our program name is Teaching the Genesis of English Language, and the code is IGP 4987. The code is IGP 4987. Without code, no one is eligible for certificate. With code, you can claim your certificate anytime. To download the certificate, you have to go to our website. Our website this is eduigp.com, and the code is for IGP 4987. Having the certificate, don't forget to celebrate with IGP and checking. Thank you. Stay home, stay safe.